Tunji Awonusi joins us. He's a financial analyst. Morning, Tunji, and thank you for joining us today. Well, having listened to what Dr. Abati and Mr. Sanusi responded following all of those about his suspension. Wow, he quite a handful of what you have in the papers and everywhere. Give us your perspective, first and foremost, of what's going on about this suspension. You think it should have been suspended and the way it was done?
Well, I thank you very much, Chamberlain, and good morning, viewers. Sanusi, to me, is history, and we need to move on to the next level. Well, he just said it himself that he's been expecting this suspension for a long time. And the fact that this is something that has started since April last year, and the query has been given, the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria has looked at it, and they've recommended that his case should be looked at in the form of suspension. And to me, I honestly don't think the president has done anything wrong. In any sane society, if you're accused of financial recklessness or fraud from what we got, I mean, the governor of CBN should honorably have stepped aside for investigation to be taken. He shouldn't even have waited for the president to suspend him and all that. But I'm very excited about what he said, that he's going to challenge that in court. There's a need for us to deepen our democracy. It would be nice for Sanusi to go to court so that we can see that what's happening. But it's very important for us to let the viewers know that the fact that you have a CBN Act that has given so much autonomy to the governor of the CBN does not give the CBN governor any immunity to do anything bad. So we really, really need to look at that from that perspective, and that's very important.
Do you think that this is really a suspension or a removal? Because from what we saw yesterday, there was a directive asking that, he be suspended, and then, the most senior deputy director act as CBN governor. And then you also saw a case where names were forwarded immediately to the Senate for as nominees for position of central bank, and then you also have one for deputy governor of the central bank. What do you make of this, chain of events? It doesn't seem like there is actually room for, if you're found cleared, after you've stepped aside or you've been suspended, you could actually return to your seat as CBN governor.
I think the process for the selection of a new CBN governor is already started. Basically, what the president has done, I honestly don't know that part of the CBN Act. I'm going to look at it now. That says the time that the president needs to submit the list. Sanusi's tenure actually ends in June. Maybe what they have done is to send in the list early enough so that all the security checks, all the checks that will be done by National Assembly will be done. I honestly don't think they're out of order, because Sanusi's tenure is going to end in June, and that's just about 4 or 5 months away. So I don't have a problem with the president sending that in. Sanusi has already said it a year or two ago that he doesn't want a second term. So the process of having another CBN governor, that should have started. I don't think they've done anything wrong in that respect. It's just giving enough time for the National Assembly to do a detailed work on the person that the president has submitted his name.
But what do you think about the implication of this suspension vis-a-vis the recent declaration by Sanusi of some funds that were not remitted to the Federation account? How would the investors, foreign investors especially, who have portfolios here in Nigeria, how would they see this?
The way the investment world works is not the way politics work. Already, they knew that there's been a problem since last year when this thing has started. So the whole shock of the news is already been factored into whatever they're doing. So if you have a year ago, the president has already sent the CBN governor a query, the financial world and the investment world had looked at it to say, if that has been done a year ago, we already know what the problem is going to be. We already know if it's going to be suspended or removed, or it's going to finish its tenure in June. So that has been factored in. And you have to understand too that we've had bigger things that Sanusi has done. The banking tsunami that he did in North, which don't crash the market, is something that is far bigger than suspending the CBN governor. My own point here is the fact that we need to look at some of the things that has happened. The CBN Act was set up at that point to give autonomy to the central bank of Nigeria, not to make one person so powerful that he can do and undo whatever he needs to do. Are you aware that the CBN, as I speak to you, is building an 84 billion naira event center and an hotel? What has that got to do with Central Bank of Nigeria? What has all these issues of talking and being politicized, the politics that they're doing? I don't have a challenge with the problem of NNPC. I've always said it everywhere, that there's so much corruption in NNPC. There's so much corruption in what is happening. Sanusi has done well by bringing that to the notice of the people. And I'm very sure that people like us and people in the civil society will continue to talk about national NNPC until we get to the root of it. But part of the problem with NNPC is the subsidy. Nigerians need to wake up and take out that subsidy. But back to the Sanusi issue. It is very saddening that when he removed the bank chief executives, we spent so much money on legal fees. We spent so much money on lawyers. This is supposed to be something that easily we could have transited in. And there was somebody that he invited the bank chief executive to a meeting in Abuja, and those guys left that place being out of work. So these are things that we need to look at. The framers of the CBN Act did not foresee what is happening now. He did not foresee a situation where the CBN governor would tell the National Assembly that is not in their place for them to ask for the budget. The CBN governor does not submit the budget to the National Assembly, and he's already said it to them that you've already made the law, and the law has been given to me. So these are the things that we need to test. We need to test it to know if the CBN governor needs to actually speak to the president or consult the president before he spends as much as 163 billion. As I speak to you, 163 billion has been spent on the CSR that CBN is doing. This is a huge amount of money. At least the president needs to know. Even if he doesn't want to say it to the president, the National Assembly needs to be consulted on this issue. These are the issues that baffles me. And you, Chamberlain, do you know, as I speak to you, that the governor of the Bank of England is a Canadian? So if England can accept that a Canadian will be their governor, that means that the governor of the CBN should be out of politics. What it should be doing is to look at the monetary policies for this country and make sure that we move country to the next level. I've always said it. The issue of money is totally different from politics. If you want to play politics, you can play politics, because the politicians will always come back and say they never said that. But you don't do that when it comes to money issues. What you say, you will get to hear it globally in few seconds. This is the era where telecommunications is grown very high, is grown at a very fast rate, that all you do, if you do it now, people will get to know about it. I think Sanusi should just hold his peace now, go to court, like he said. Let us go and challenge where it's done all over the world that the president will not have a power to suspend somebody that is appointed.
Do you blame those who say, say they read ulterior motives to this suspension? Because all the while, it does appear to them as if there's been this silence about all that he's been doing until this this public, this hearing, yeah, you could call it public, where this NNPC was speaking about this 20 billion, as he said it was. So some actually think, well, if you had all of this, if you queried him twice from the president, from the SSG, and not many people knew about it, and it then happened now, they just think, wait a minute, something is not right here. The timing for them is wrong.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. I think that the way government works is how that is done. There are lots of things that are done internally that doesn't come out to the open. I remember having an interview some time ago in another station, another sister station. And I said to myself, I said, what Sanusi has come up to do with the public declaration about the fraud in NNPC. On one side, it is good for the noise that it generates in the society. But on the other side, it's not very good. And I will give you an example. I have friends who are trying to raise they're trying to raise PE money abroad. And when they heard that 49.8 billion was missing from our coffers, Those guys didn't want to get back. They didn't want to go on with the transaction. The way it's done is there are a lot of things that you need to do internally. There are a lot of things that you need to do as a CBN governor without getting to the press. We cannot continue to bring down our economy because we just want to score cheap points. These are not things that we need to talk about. The timing for anything is the time that he wants to do. The president, what he's done is to actually go through all the gamut. He has issued him a query. The CBN governor has replied the query. They've sent it to the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, who has looked at it and has said, there's a case, there's a case, he needs to answer to a lot of questions here. And I sincerely do think that the CBN governor that we know and who has preached that what we need to do is transparency is somebody that should have gladly said to the president, I want to step aside and let this investigation be carried out. But at the same time, whatever it is that is done internally is not something that will bring into the open. The CBN governor is totally different. That office is big. It's far bigger than being a social critic. It's far bigger than being a civil rights activist. Now that he's left the CBN governorship, then he can go out there and become whatever it is. He can even run to become the president of Nigeria if he feels that that's not been done. But having said that, as a CBN governor, you all need to work together with everybody and make sure that the economy moves.